Greetings, family. It's election day, November 4th. Interesting topics to talk about today. I got my detective hat on to explore some background information to see what's really going on in the world. So it's election day in the United States, so some change has come. You saw what happened in New York. You saw what happened in Virginia. Got my button on my sticker on because I voted today. So I'm just saying that we have to look at that's going to be a way we can look at change. People are tired of seeing what's happening in the United States with all these crazy policies from this current government, so-called big, beautiful, you can say bitch-ass bill, problematic because it's creating havoc in the social structure of the United States. So I want to talk today about the FIFA flop. I want to predict a flop for this World Cup coming up in 2026. It's supposed to be hosted in 3 countries like Canada, Mexico, and the United States. I'm encouraging people to not come and participate. Not come and participate. Not show your presence here in the United States. All these buildings going up, these new hotels, these new venues. Look, they're treating people negatively. They're not honoring the opportunity for people just to be and to be free. Look, let's have a FIFA flop so we don't have, well, that's one way of changing things, but let's make it sure that we can kind of focus on making changes in society. So soccer is a worldwide sport, but it's not dominated by the United States. So they got the contracts to go ahead and have some facilities and some opportunities to do it here in the United States, but the Federal International Football Association, worldwide, everyone knows about it. The world plays soccer, but I'm suggesting that we boycott and do not participate, especially because of what the government is doing. When I say the government, the United States government. So when do you take a stand? Wars can be fought on many fronts. Sanctions are one way that big powers control little nations. So Venezuela, Cuba, Haiti, Iran. Sanctions are put on countries that the United States does not like. Not a good thing. They put sanctions on Russia. Not a good thing. It's war, basically. So missing the World Cup is not going to be the end of the world, so stay home. Let FIFA flop. Okay, a world war between countries could be the end of the world. Now that's a problem. So you not coming to the World Cup is not a problem, but a world war that is brewing right now? You see what's happening in the Caribbean Sea? With the Venezuelan so-called attack by the United States on this South American country. You're watching the news, so we have to pay attention. So I got my detective hat on so we can figure this out. So, would the event go on if North America attacked South America? I mean, how do you go on with normal life when you got a war going on? Because if the United States attacks, does that mean China gets involved? Does it mean Russia gets involved? I mean, what's happening on the world scheme of things? So, foreigners and non-white visitors, why even put yourself in harm's way by being detained by an unregulated goon force? When I say goon, we're talking about the ICE agents and how these people just, like in the past with slavery, just snatching people up and taking them. No authority to do that. No documentation, no papers, no warrant, no, just snatching people up. So why would you want to come to a country that's doing that? So hit the U.S. economy hard. Preserve your life, preserve your money. So if you think about it, here we are in November. Just told you we're at election day. Change is coming. You saw it in Virginia. You saw it in New York. Change is coming. So the United States is skipping the COP30 conference again. The 30th conference of parties to deal with how we are looking at the global crisis with the climate change. It's going to be in Belém, Brazil, November 6th to the 21st, and America has already said they're not going. It's to focus on global and climate action and for countries to work things out to lessen the fossil fuel emissions so we can have a decent world to live in. The United States is not going. Make that make sense. So, skip out on the USA. FIFA reported that more than 1 million tickets were sold during the initial pre-sale phase, with residents of the United States, Canada, and Mexico buying the most tickets. Now, England, Germany, Brazil, Spain, Colombia, Argentina, and France rounded out the top 10 markets in that opening phase. So, England, white country. Germany, white country. Brazil, mixed. Spain, kind of mixed. Colombia, mixed. Argentina, white. France, white. So, those countries will probably still come, but they do have black players. In soccer, you have a lot of black players in a lot of these teams. That's how they become pretty good. Even if France is a white country, they got pretty much all black players. So why would you want to put yourself in a position to come into the United States in places where you're not welcome? So the chief operating officer of the World Cup, Jaime Churgi, he says, we already have seen massive interest from around the world for this tournament, and especially from within the host countries as Canada, Mexico, and the United States prepare to host the biggest FIFA World Cup yet. That's what he says. The second phase, with its host country domestic exclusivity time slot, will allow us to say thank you to these local fans while ensuring global opportunity as well. So, again, this is about marketing. I'm saying skip those tickets. You have to start somewhere, but you have to break the monopoly of the capitalistic, enterprise that is controlling you. So, what they're saying is upcoming phases to expand ticket availability. After the domestic exclusivity period ends, FIFA will open ticket purchasing slots to a broader audience starting November 17th. Additional tickets will be released in subsequent sales phases, continuing the gradual rollout of available seats as the World Cup approaches. This phased approach aims to ensure a fair and organized distribution of tickets to fans worldwide. Again, why would you want to come to a country that's now attacking its own citizens with the military? This should be a flop. It should not become a successful event. I know people love soccer. The world loves soccer, but you got to take a stand at some point. So we got this world war brewing right now. Venezuela. See, brother Hugo Chavez there with his red shirt on. I got my red shirt on right there. Nicolas Maduro, he's right there. The successor of what was going on with Hugo Chavez when he was in Venezuela. So these are the people elected leaders in Venezuela. Chavez was there from 1999 to his death, 2013. He was vilified by the Western Empire, specifically the United States. When he was deceased, the vice president, Nicolas Maduro, phased on in as the president and has been the president since 2013. So, there's now some concerns about these people we'll call socialist revolutionaries being in power. Why is there a problem? There are sanctions against Venezuela, so how is Venezuela going to survive with money being held from them? Opportunities for others to do business with them. Sanctions create a real problem. The same scenario that happened with Cuba, where the United States and pretty much the United States was putting sanctions against Cuba, they're doing the same thing to Venezuela. So, you can't look at like it's a backwards place. Look, it's backwards because the money is not flowing because of sanctions. The same thing with Cuba. You look on the back scene there where Chavez has his hand up, that's Che Guevara. Che Guevara was very important to the revolutionary movements there in South America. So Hugo Chavez and the continuing leadership of Maduro talks about the Bolivarian Revolution. So in South America, they have their own focus on how they deal with change, getting the colonizer off their neck. That is the Spanish colonizer. So they're seeking independence. The United States had a fake, well, not the United States. There was a fake election in Venezuela where they're saying this guy named Juan Guaido won in 2019. It was a staged event because, again, the elections were recorded by people like Jimmy Carter, who were going down there as human rights activists to say, hey, these are fair elections that were going on. So the United States was trying to put this person in place to run the government of Venezuela. Oh my. So you just saw it, 2025. This woman named Maria Machado was given the Nobel Peace Prize. You don't know anything about her. You didn't know anything about the guy Juan Guaido I just showed you. We have to study, we have to learn. That's what I'm saying. Put on the detective hat, because when you start to look at the people, now you start to see who they are. So I have a book called Hugo by a journalist named Jones. I'm going to read a little portion of who this woman is later on, but visualize the image. Know who they are. You got to know who the people are who are causing problems in the world economics. And so she's really pretty much a puppet of the United States. And here she wins the Nobel Prize and she wants to give it to Trump. So you know something's going on behind the scenes. Okay? Behind the scenes, so there's Trump behind the scenes, behind that flag. So who's that individual he's standing with? You probably don't know. Well, maybe you do know. Point is, you gotta put the detective hat on to really find out who these people are hanging out with the, I guess I would say the Manchurian candidate. Argentina. He is a politician in Argentina that Trump backed. Look, let's forget the beyond the backing piece. Under this new Trump administration, these fools gave Argentina $20 billion. When I say 20 billion, I'm saying my tax money, your tax money, our tax money to a government that is racist. How do I know that? Because that's how they operate. They excluded, wiped out all the black people. So, Argentina election results deliver Trump-backed president Javier Milei. That's what that individual was. So that individual is backed by Trump, so he becomes a puppet. So this is October 27th. So it just happened right before the midterm elections in the United States. Argentina's libertarian president Javier Milei won decisive victories in midterm elections on Sunday, clinching a crucial vote of confidence that strengthens his ability to carry out his radical free market with billions of dollars in backing from the Trump administration. Now, when I say billions, again, not 1, 2, 3, $20 billion. You don't have SNAP benefits anymore. You have no health care. You are now struggling to find food to eat. And you now going to, no, not you. The government's going to give $20 billion to another country. Why aren't we seeing protests? Hey, they had a No Kings rally. That's something. But there needs to be significant protests. So I think the elections are showing that this will not last. Vote these people out. Get them out so these situations don't keep happening. So now we have Argentina as a manipulated, basically a foreign intervention by the United States giving money to their this politician, and so you now manipulated their elections. People complain that Russia was doing it to the United States. The United States does it all the time, trying to put their cronies in, the people that they want to support, that are going to support American capitalistic greed enterprises. And so what I understand is somebody who has somebody in Trump's administration is involved in Argentina. And so, hey, you got to help out with their investments, make sure that we can still make that money. But again, $20 billion to a country that was failing because of their policies. Now, listen to this. when you read the history of Argentina, this is from an article with our brother Baruch Inman, the Mashariki Gazzetti. Black Genocide, the True History of the Whitening of Argentina. This is written by Rafael Pena, October 13, 2023. Here we are in 2025 right now. In a striking metamorphosis, Argentina has become synonymous with whiteness in South America. So you see why you see Trump is dealing with that particular country. The country reported a mere 0.365% of its population as Afro-Argentine in the 2010 census. Less than 2 centuries ago, however, the landscape was strikingly different, with Black individuals consisting of over a third of the population in the year 1800s. Argentina's tumultuous journey from a diverse Afro-Argentine enclave to its current status as one of the whitest nations on the continent is a haunting tale of genocide and calculated devastation. This transformation reveals an unsettling past marked by the strategic suppression of a vibrant Afro-Argentine community enforced by government policies and historical amnesia. We're acting like nothing happened where those Black people weren't removed. So today, people just say, well, Blacks just don't exist. Today, many Argentinians hold the erroneous belief that Argentina neither participated in the slave trade nor witnessed the presence of Afro-Argentinians, as if they had left the country naturally. Such misconceptions persist despite the historical evidence of the country. To the contrary, former Argentine President Carlos Menem once shockingly declared, "In Argentina, Blacks do not exist." That is a Brazilian problem. The prevalent perception, both within and beyond Argentina, is that of a predominantly white society. Buenos Aires is the nation's capital, often earns the moniker Paris of Latin America in popular culture. However, this image is a product of the ugly racism that systematically erased Afro-Argentinians from the nation's fabric. So there's a reason why Trump is now allowing immigrants to come to this country, but from what white places like the white South Africans, not Black people. So Argentina and this Argentinian genocide against Black people kind of explains why there's a reason to be in bed with these people. We have to understand that. So here's the problem. We're dealing with that location there in the Caribbean Sea, the top of South America, and you have warships that are now getting close to Venezuela, but there's neighboring countries. So there's going to be collateral damage if there's anything to be done to look at this potential war that's coming. So there used to be a game called Battleship Toy Game, a battleship game, but it's a toy game created in 1967. A toy game, Battleship. I had one when I was a kid. I don't know if you ever used or played with that, but they got real life battleship events going on in the Caribbean Sea because white boys playing with people's lives, interfering with people's lives because of a goal that we don't really quite understand. Well, if you start looking at resources, you start looking at control of those resources, put your detective hat on, you try to ask, well, what is it that Venezuela has? Okay, now you can make sense of why these battleships are there. So, even though we're saying battleships with your United States, guess what? Russian battleships are there also. I don't think people would be foolish enough to just to shoot and kill right there, right now. It could happen because both of these countries could wipe out the world with a nuclear bomb. Nuclear weapons. We're in dangerous times, and these white boys playing these toy games in the Caribbean Sea is a problem for the world right now. So if we don't understand how all this has kind of been brewing, then we are kind of lost in the story. Oliver Stone did a documentary called South of the Border. I want to play a little bit of this because I want you to kind of see why there's a lot of misconceptions about what's going on there in that area called Venezuela, country at the top of South America, that has 30 million people in the jungle, and the white man can't win another war on the ground. That's why they're shooting them boats in the ocean. That's a cowardly act. Talking about those drug dealers are on those boats, and you don't know that because the boat blew the boat up with a drone. But when you start talking about going head to head with someone on the ground, the American military may not be able to win another war like that ever again. So they cheat using these drones and these other kinds of attacks. And the Navy, they got the Navy down there, but it's going to be a real challenging scenario when people start shooting back. So we want to play a little bit of this Oliver Stone documentary.
He has taken on our most controversial presidencies and America's most controversial war. Now, Academy Award winner Oliver Stone is ready to hit the road.
Who is Hugo Chavez? Some believe he is the enemy.
He's more dangerous than bin Laden, and the effects of Chavez's war against America could eclipse those of 9/11.
Some believe he is the answer. But no matter what you believe, in South America, he is just the beginning.
Venezuela is important because they're the third largest supplier of petroleum.
Bush planificó. Primero, Chávez, petróleo. Segundo, Saddam, Irak, petróleo.
A mí me parece que, como te decía, ¿no? Por primera vez en la región los gobernantes se parecen a sus gobernados.
I want to play soccer with the president.
Si vos vas a Bolivia y mirás la cara de Evo es la cara de los bolivianos.
Could we say the goal of the presidents of the region would be to own their own natural resources? Is it possible?
A única coisa que eu quero é ser tratado em igualdade de condições. Então, eu pessoalmente não tenho nenhum interesse de brigar com os Estados Unidos.
Rafael Correa is now being cast as one of the bad left.
Todo respeto, conociendo a la prensa norteamericana, estaría más preocupado cuando hable bien de él.
Today, the Argentinian president, with concerns about U.S. trade policy, seemed in no hurry to embrace his American counterpart.
Lo que hay que hacer acá y la mejor manera de dinamizar es Estados Unidos ha crecido en base a la guerra.
You said that.
Dijo eso, textuales palabras.
This summer, take an incredible look at an extraordinary movement.
Pela primeira vez, os pobres estão sendo tratados como seres humanos.
Quizá esa es una de las razones de la actividad que uno lleva, el optimismo, la fe, la esperanza y las evidencias concretas de que sí es posible cambiar el mundo, cambiar la historia. Es posible, Oliver.
South of the border.
I'm just curious, how many sets of shoes do you have?
Le preguntan siempre a las mujeres esas cosas. No sé, nunca le preguntaron a un hombre cuántos pares de zapatos tiene. ¿Qué sé yo?
So go watch that full video, the full documentary called South of the Border about Hugo Chavez and really the Latin American experience. They vilified, or the white media vilified Oliver Stone, saying that was slanted, saying it from one viewpoint about just propping up Chavez. But again, America has no monopoly on righteousness and justice. You see what's going on with this current administration. There's no way you call that righteous justice. It's called devilish, evil. You starve your own people and you attack your own people, and you got your National Guard and your military going after your own people. That's evil. That was not going on in other countries like Venezuela. But you vilify people, and that's called propaganda. So we have to start looking at why I'm saying FIFA flop. You got this guy named David Goldblatt. So as we do, we're going to conclude now just talking about some books. David Goldblatt wrote a book called The Age of Football, Soccer in the 21st Century. So it's big time. I mean, people love soccer. It's a world event. So I'm saying have some reality of knowing that you're being exploited and saying that you dictate that you're not going to be exploited anymore. Crush the system. Don't participate. This guy has also written books called The Ball is Rounds. He has a podcast, Game of Our Lives, and he has recently been nominated for a Webby Award. I mean, so this guy from England has written about soccer, and he knows the global nature of why soccer is so important. But it's not so important that you now just go to a game and you now getting beat down, exploited. Don't participate in the system. So how do you take a stand with sports? Have you ever read this? Olympic Pride, American Justice. This is the untold story of 18 African Americans who defied Jim Crow and Adolf Hitler to compete in the 1936 Berlin Olympics. Now, there's also a documentary about this. This book is actually based off a documentary from 2015 called Olympic Pride, American Justice. So you can find this on the internet. Watch that because it's really profound. But it's like, what do the brothers do? Do they go participate? I mean, Jesse Owens had that problem. Do I go to this racist country when this war is going on? So I'm saying right now, we have a precedent to say not to participate in events that you could be harming yourself by being jailed, and you also are, not taking care of your own livelihood by not, taking care of yourself because you're going to the country that doesn't care about you. So people have done it in the past to protest and don't go, just don't go. This book here called Hugo, this revealed a whole lot of information about why we shouldn't be vilifying Venezuela for melanin-dominant people. It's like melanin-dominant people can't vilify Haiti. Just because Haiti kicked the white man's butt in the Western Hemisphere, that's not our enemy. That's our friend. That's our brother. Cuba helped out with African revolutions for independence. How can that be my enemy? How can that be melanin-dominant people's enemy? Venezuela, they gave free oil programs, low-cost oil programs to black people or low-income communities in the United States. You probably never knew that. Did you even know that Citgo was a Venezuelan company? So when you see Citgo, they had helped out. I got the documentation here. I can show it to you. I can read it to you. It says Chavez had a serious image problem because again with this propaganda, they're trying to look at him like he's a devil. He's a problem. To counteract it, he came up with an ingenious idea. In the midst of record oil prices, he decided to distribute discounted home heating oil to low-income people in the United States. You never heard of that, did you? The program started with the winter of 2005, 2006, with the Venezuelan-owned Citgo Petroleum Corporation pledging to provide 12 million gallons of home heating oil to residents in Massachusetts and 8 million gallons to people in the Bronx. The recipients will get a 40% discount. You're not hearing me. Foreign government is helping out low-income people in this so-called government that has the richest, supposed to be the richest on the earth. Former Congressman Joseph P. Kennedy II, the son of the late Robert Kennedy, who ran the nonprofit Citizens Energy Corporation, helped broker the Massachusetts deal. The plan was a masterstroke that even Chavez, fiercest critics, could not effectively attack, especially after no other oil companies responded to a plea from a group of U.S. senators to donate some of their record profits to the poor. One analyst called it shrewd political theater. Even the U.S. government grudgingly saluted it. That's helpful, but we don't want to really talk about Chavez helping people. Venezuela did not fail to capitalize on the positive PR. It took a full-page advertisements in the Washington Post and New York Times. The headline was, "How Venezuela is Keeping the Home Fires Burning in Massachusetts." So they're helping people who are in a whole nother country with the oil that they have. You have people that have these astronomical bills during the wintertime here, and the government's not doing anything. You know they're not doing anything because you now have a government shutdown, and you have people being fired on furloughed and not getting any money. This government doesn't care about you. It's showing you that daily. What the visitors, so he had some people that went to Venezuela to see what's really going on. What the visitors found often contradicted the one-sided version provided by much of the media. All I had heard about Chavez was that he was a dictator, stated Donna Santiago, a Philadelphia beneficiary of a Venezuelan program providing discounted home heating oil. The man is far from that. He's really a warm person. I want to bring him home and stick him in the White House. So just saying that basically, if you don't go yourself and see and talk to people, you're manipulated. You're stuck in the propaganda machine, the mass media mind manipulation machine. So you had some black people that went over there. Listen to this. It says, for decades, a forgotten Latin American backwater, Venezuela today is a hot. This book was written in 2007 by Bart Jones. So 2007 by Bart Jones. It says, for decades, Latin America was a backwater. Venezuela today is a hot destination for revolutionary tourists who are flying in from the United States, Europe, and other destinations to see the Bolivarian revolution in action. Chavez counts among his friends. Listen to this. His friends, African American leaders including Harry Belafonte, Danny Glover, and Jesse Jackson, who see a parallel between his Bolivar-inspired revolution on behalf of Venezuela's dark-skinned, majority poor, and black Americans. Martin Luther King-inspired struggle for social and economic justice in the United States. So now you see why there's also an attack against those leaders in Venezuela. Because they're trying to focus on that black African heritage. The Venezuelan leader delivers discounted home heating oil to impoverished neighborhoods in Harlem and the Bronx and as far away as Alaska, where Indian tribes benefit from the deal. When he visited New York City in 2006 as Chavez, he traveled to Harlem and spoke at Coop Union in the East Village, becoming the first foreign president to deliver an address in a hall where 8 U.S. presidents, including Lincoln, had given speeches. So a few months earlier, Time magazine had listed him among the 100 most influential people in the world. But with Maduro in place right now, it's all about vilifying everything that anybody in Venezuela is doing. And so you now have a component of oppositional leaders that are then supported by the United States. Just like in Cuba, you had a lot of white Cubans, didn't like Castro, didn't like the so-called socialistic, communistic, or I guess interest in making equality for not just the white people, for the black people there too. They vilified Cuba. The same thing happened with Venezuela. But that woman now, that you saw earlier, that won the Nobel Prize in 2025, Nobel Peace Prize, there's some history to that. We have to start looking at how things are controlled. Listen to this. It says, as Reich and other Iran-Contra figures settled into their posts in early 2002, most Venezuelans were unaware that the NED stands for National Endowment for Democracy. That is an organization created by the United States to go there to, hey, push democracy. It's a joke. Why? Because we saw, if you get a chance to watch a documentary called Soundtrack to a Coup d'etat, it explains how the black entertainers were used to go destabilize some of the African independence movements, like Louis Armstrong, Billie Holiday. These people were used to go over there to perform, but it was a part of the United States manipulation of the political environment there. Same things going on here in Venezuela. It says, unaware that the NED was rapidly infiltrating their society in a way reminiscent of the Nicaraguan experience. Grants were escalating quickly as U.S. power brokers grew increasingly wary of Chavez. As 2001 rolled into 2002, the money nearly quadrupled to 877,000. Most of it went to anti-Chavez civil society organizations, including one called Sumate, S-U-M-A-T-E. Join Up. Sumate, Join Up. Its leader was, now listen to this, the leader of this oppositional organization was Maria Corina Machado, that woman who we just said won the 2025 Nobel Prize and then wanted to give it to Trump. An English-speaking fashion plate who had attended boarding school in Wellesley, Massachusetts. You know they got a white school there for white women called Wellesley College. But Toni Martin taught there. That white woman who wrote a book called Not Out of Africa. Mary Kay Lefkowitz teaches there. So she's coming out of that environment where, again, maybe really conservative movement kind of environment, was to land an interview in the Oval Office with President George Bush. Something Chavez never achieved. So this white woman who's the oppositional leader to Chavez was meeting with George Bush. Listen to this. Much of the organization's funding, that is the NED, funding that oppositional organization in Venezuela called Sumate, funding of about $1 million a year in Venezuela was going to opposition groups, including some of whose leaders signed the Carmona Decree, wiping out democracy during the April 2002 coup, or showed up in the palace that day. So you know there was a coup that happened in the United States, attempted coup. They call it January 6th, when Trump was trying to say that the elections were rigged and he should be staying in power. One of them was Maria Corina Machado, founder and leader of the Sumate. So Machado, the attractive English-speaking fashion plate, daughter of one of Venezuela's wealthiest families, so now you start to see you got the money people kind of coming into play, insisted Sumate was an independent pro-democracy organization dedicated to voter education. The United States is manipulating other people's environments, other people's elections. We just saw that with Argentina. $20 billion to influence the people, hey, to vote for this man because we gave you some money. You better vote for him. But guess what? Didn't happen in New York. Mondani came through. Would be the mayor, even though the white enterprise with the Manchurian candidate Trump was trying to get that money to control that environment. So lastly, listen to this. It says Reich's replacement as Assistant Secretary of State was hardly more enlightened. It says Roger Noriega was a longtime aide to Senator Jesse Helms. Another problem. He's a guy from North Carolina who was a Dixiecrat. He was not supporting having a King Holiday. Wasn't supporting having a African American museum on the mall. So you got some bad people here. And it played a key role in drafting the Helms-Burton Act of 1996, tightening the U.S. embargo on Cuba. Again, sanctions is war. He kept Reich's hard-nosed approach to Chavez intact, so sanctions in Venezuela also. The U.S. hostility was underscored in May 2005 when Bush received leading Chavez opponent, Maria Corina Machado. So this goes way back. This is 15 years ago. This woman was groomed as someone to help destabilize the Venezuelan mission. So she got a 15-minute meeting in the Oval Office with the president. So, and there's a photograph of Bush and Machado conversing in the White House on front page Venezuelan news. So the people like, this woman is committing treason. So the joke again today is that she was given a Nobel Peace Prize, and here she is now destabilizing the government. She's getting a Nobel Peace Prize and gonna give it to Trump, and he's now shooting innocent people in little boats in the Caribbean Sea. Peace? So now you got the United States government trying to go to Nigeria. You got this book called Where Vultures Feast. Vultures. The white man's a vulture trying to go take other people's resources. What does Nigeria have? Oil. They're not worried about some Christians being killed over there in Nigeria. They're not worried about black people getting killed and killing one over there. It's those Islamic terrorists that are creating the terror that are killing both Muslims and Christians. But the storyline is that, well, we can't get that Venezuelan oil. We're going to do something to get some oil from Nigeria. So they shouldn't be over there in that black nation. And my little article, I have some articles in this. This is written by Ike Okanta and Oronto Douglas. They wrote this book called Where Vultures Feast. You can get that Verso Books. They published it in 2003. But interesting articles that are here. I got this piece that says, Racing for New Riches. Russian and Chinese investors are battling for African resources to fuel their growing empires. I didn't say today. This is 2007. They've already been there. The United States is late in the game. They're trying to go there now, saying that we want to protect these Christians, but they want to get the foot in the door so they can get that oil. The Russians and the Chinese are already there. You're late in the game. Nigeria could feed Africa. This is also 2006. Nigeria could feed Africa. It says, they lost everything in Zimbabwe, but a hardy bunch of white farmers is making a new start. So you know Zimbabwe had Mugabe. Robert Mugabe was telling the farmers to give that land back to the black people that you stole it from. So the reason why, again, they're over there, that is not they. The United States is over there in Africa at this point, is oil. The reason why they're over there in Venezuela is oil. So we got to look at how the resources and how white people are really caught up in resources and things and material as the most important thing in their lives. We watch movies like Wakanda. They want to get that vibranium. We watch movies like Avatar. They want to get that unobtainium mineral resource. Those are just movies. But in real life, that's what it's all about. So lastly, The Shackled Continent. Power, Corruption, and African Lives. Written by a journalist named Robert Guest. And I only mention this because we see Africa's on the rise right now with revolution, change. Tanzania is on fire right now, trying to get rid of their president because the president is not doing righteous moves by not allowing oppositional leaders to even be to compete and run. And then you got problems in Tanzania with the way that some of the port systems are being given to the Arabs, and you got people protesting saying they don't want this happening again. So again, we have a mission. When I say FIFA flop, we have a mission to protest. Let your money do the talking. Let your votes do the talking. So this election day, so we have to be cognizant of our money and where it's being spent. So we have to look at, as the holiday season is coming, blackout. Don't spend your money with a government in places and spaces with people who are not interested in your livelihood. So, got the detective hat on. I think we've uncovered some material. It's now up to you to go do some more research and let's figure this out, find a plan and win. FIFA flop. Don't come in the United States.